Okay, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat right here on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. I'm your host for the next 2 hours. It is the 18th of March, and it's actually nice and sunny out today. A little cool, but sunny nonetheless. I'm going to have a couple of guests on here today, and we're going to be talking about a conference that's going on in Calgary on the 13th and 14th of April. And these people are working very, very hard out there. Karen Draper, who ran for the school board in Calgary in the municipal election, and Carl Fleury out of Lloydminster, who has dedicated himself, as they both have, to doing what needs to be done in this country. And I'm going to bring them in here in a second. Just trying to get something else to work. And hopefully it does. So we may have another guest in as well later on in the show with these folks. And I'm hoping that this show inspires some people to get up off their butts, you know, and knowing what's going on and not doing anything about it is probably worse than not knowing what's going on. Because if you don't know what's going on, you're not going to accomplish anything versus knowing what's going on and not doing anything. So hopefully this show has a certain amount of inspiration for people today. And I'm going to bring Carl. Okay, that's good. I'm going to bring Carl and Karen in here, and we'll get on with the show. Because I have a lot to tell you and a lot to inspire you with. And it's a great time to be alive, so let's go get done what needs to be done. And I really wish I could go to Calgary. I've been in there since the 70s. And Calgary, I guess, has changed so much over the time that it's probably not recognizable to me anymore. There, we got Carl in here. We got you, Carl? Call failed. What the hell is going on here? We got you, Karen?
Yeah, good morning.
Now, why? Am I having a problem getting Carl in here? Let me try that again. And see if we can get him. I don't know why he failed. Anyways, well, we're trying to get him in. How you doing, dear?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. You sound good. And you guys are probably getting less sleep than you like. Okay, I believe we got Carl in here now.
Here I am. Sorry.
There you are. We had problems.
I figured I better go to the bathroom before I...
that's where you were.
Oh, yeah. And I ran. And I ran so far away.
Oh. Anyways, there's... we're going to talk today about the conference that's going on in Calgary on the 13th and 14th of April, and it's called The Time Is Now, and I really like that because it has a certain inspirational sound to it, and that's what we need to do, inspire our people here in Canada, because they've been laying down long time. It's time to get them back up, get them informed. And I think this project that you're doing in Calgary, and you can explain it to me in a second, but I think it's just to try to bring some knowledge to people, which Canadians are desperately in need of, is some usable knowledge. They've been kept in the dark and put to sleep, really, and made docile. But finally, they're starting to question what the hell the government and that's up to. And it's a big change because I first started explaining, this was, I lived in Calgary and Edmonton way back when in the 70s, trying to explain to people that if you study the Canadian government, it's really just a dictatorship. What they were doing in the 70s was making people docile by giving them all of these benefits. And that people, oh boy, we're getting benefits, but they don't look at the debt load. They don't look at anything. Oh, look, the daddy and mommy are giving us something, right? We're getting presents, which made everybody so docile in this country. It's nuts. But I did say back in the 70s that once they get you docile enough, when they turn on you, you're not going to know how to deal with it. Well, they've turned on us now. And unfortunately, people don't know how to deal with it. They don't want to accept the fact that we're in serious trouble here. So this is, the time is now to wake our fellow Canadians up. So I'll let you and Carl and Karen explain what it is you're doing, what got you involved in it. And, we have the two chats, one on Revolution Radio and one over in UCY. Feel free to put your links and that in there. And maybe we can get a conversation going in the chats as well. So whoever wants to start.
We'll let the lady go first. Can you introduce yourself and let people know who you are, what we do? My dear Karen friend, partner.
Sure, I'll go first. The time is now is two organizations. Street Church, Pastor Art Pawlowski has been a leading voice in Calgary, non-compromising on values and the Christian heritage of our people. And he feeds the homeless 4 times a week with barbecues downtown, purposefully down at City Hall. He loves to just make sure that he's using uses the space at City Hall because he really believes that those people work for us, so they should also be that we should that he wants to be on that property, using that space and being a voice for Canadians, being a voice for Jesus, all those things, so that he can just be present there on this, because this is our city, right? So he feeds the homeless 4 times a week, and he is a fighter. He comes from Poland, so they know about fighting for their freedom. When they rose up over their communist government, it was a movement of the people, and ever since I met this man during my political activism, I knew I had to be listening to him. He's so wise. His speeches are so great, so powerful. His services, I go to his church, the Cave of Adullam. His services are wonderful, uplifting. I always feel personally, that we are the warriors, that we can accomplish anything together. He makes the people that are around him feel so strong. So we have Street Church Calgary. And then we have a wonderful lady and organization called Hope for More up near Carl in Lloydminster. And they are constantly doing events and community involvement, super powerful events that have been quite large, to sharing the gospel, making uplifting people out of sorrows as well, saving souls. These people save souls every single day. So we partnered, Carl and I approached them saying, the Christians really need to unite during this time because the power of the people, we know what it can do. And we need numbers. We need people to stand together. So we brought them together in a town hall that we did. We were all doing some training on activism and climbing, proper petition writing, campaigning, all these types of things with one of my local retired MPs. And then we all grouped together and we said, we need to unite the Christians. Does everyone want to work on a project, on an event to bring everyone together? It was a really easy yes. And here we are, we've been on calls about once a week for about 6 weeks. We've got all the outline and stuff ready to go. And so now we're just just sharing the good news that
in PR mode now. Right,
and
you guys are PRing now for the 13th and the 14th of April, right?
That's right.
Doing the PR work. Now, one thing I've always said, I'll just jump in here for a second. One thing I've been saying for as long as I can bloody well remember is that two things have to disappear, be made to disappear for the so-called New World Order clowns to get what they want, which is total control over all resources, all people on the planet. One is the American Constitution, which has basically been shredded, and the second is the Christian faith. Those two things is all that's been holding up the globalists for the last while, and through Vatican II, they've infiltrated all the so-called Christian churches. And put their people in there and led their flock, so to speak, astray. And so what you guys are doing is really important. The Christian faction in this country need to understand some basics, and they need to understand that it is their job to stand up. It's really nobody else's job to stand up except for that faction. And if they fail to stand up, then we're in a large amount of trouble. So I'm really impressed with what you guys are trying to do. I wish I could get out there and witness this thing. So it's the other thing that you said, Karen, that really frustrates the hell out of me about Arthur, the Polish guy, is that, to come from Poland to a country as rich as Canada, I mean, we are the richest nation on the planet, bar none. To have homeless people in this country should be acceptable to absolutely nobody. I mean, people can't just say, "Oh, well, they must have done this was a Canadian. Well, they must have done something wrong to be in that position," right? No, they're going to put you all in that position if you don't straighten up and stand up. Those people aren't homeless because they want to be homeless. They're homeless because they've been made that way, and there's no excuse for anybody being homeless or hungry in this country. So that's another faction that the Christian people have to, deal with. And I'm really hopeful that this goes off big time. And I know how dedicated you two are, and Arthur's awful dedicated. And if you can penetrate the Christian faction and get them to actually see that they've been led astray, we can build an extremely powerful faction in this country that can stand up to anybody. And Carl.
Good morning.
You just got into this, a couple of years ago?
Yes. Let's see, I've been around the block. Yes, my name is Carl, by the way. And, I work for the Canadian people. And I do as much as I can in order to create a power and a voice for the Canadian people. So what we are basically trying to do right now is work against the government agenda, which is to divide people in order to rule and conquer. So slowly, Canadian people are losing their voices. And since they are all divided in small groups, they're basically not allowed to counter anything that the government comes up with. And they end up having to deal with all kinds of issues that they really don't agree with. But there's really nothing I can do, because people are falling into this division agenda in which you use, the history, racism, colors. I mean, you name it. It's all about getting people to fight. And they've got all kinds of things on the go. For example, I'll give you an M103 motion that decided to put to life at a time where there's no hate crime in Canada. So they're basically changing Canada in the way that would like. They're destroying the ideology of what Canada used to be. This country where people used to dream about all over the world, this place of freedom. So they are taking it away one little bit at a time, and the way they're doing this is by dividing our people. So we are working to create a counter agenda, which is to unite people. And, we have decided, to start with some of the most divided. And one of the most divided people, and that are persecuted, across the globe here, are the Christians, right? So, you need to understand that this event is not, only about the Christians, but it will be, focusing on the Christian unity, for their own good. And it's time for the Christians to unite as one.
See, I just jump in here for a second. There's some stuff in the chat that I got to deal with.
Yes.
And this is the problem. I've always avoided, when I first got on the radio about, 10, 12 years ago, I tried to stay away from the whole Christian biblical thing.
Yes.
Because it becomes an agitation for people. And so I always just try to take it to the common denominator, right? Like either you accept the idea of a creator, or you accept that you got monkey blood in you, right? Take a pick yours. But see, then we get this problem in here in the chat. Is this church a Judeo-Christian church? And this is a huge problem.
Yes.
Okay. Because you can't be a Judeo and Christian. You can't be that, right? See? And this is the problem. They said that this country is a Judeo-Christian country. Well, those are two opposite, opposing terms, just like legal and law. They mix these terms together, confuse people.
Right.
Now, the other thing I got in here is the 501c. They better comply to the government. That's the other huge problem for the Christian faction, okay? If you are going to a 501c church, okay, you're going to a corporate church, okay? That means that you've given up your soul. You've sold your soul to the corporation. And this is the other problem with the churches. Most of the people that go to the churches have no clue about any of this stuff. And this is why I'm saying that this is an opportunity. What you guys are doing is an opportunity not just to bring these people together, but to get them some usable knowledge that what they're actually doing by going to these corporate churches is they're turning their back on the very guy they say they worship.
Yeah, there we go.
It's wrong, and they got to get away from that.
Yeah,
actually, in reading these comments, I see lots of things that I used to feel the exact same way. It's so confusing. It's been so penetrated with people that are evil. We're talking, everyone knows about the Catholic Church and the pedophiles. Everyone knows about what they did in the residential schools. Everyone that is a true Christian condemns that as well. When we're talking about good and evil, I mean, there's so much in the Bible that has actually been validated, and the history and even prior to just 2,000 years ago when it was written, there are so many things that all I have to say is that when you're actually reading like the Word of God and living by the Word of God, it's a positive message. It's about love and loving their neighbor. Anyone that does otherwise, they're not following the Word of God. So
right. I mean, I have a guy in here.
When we talk about these corporate churches, they don't apply to a true Christian value. Lots of them don't.
No,
so,
but
it is what I'm noticing is that there's a huge underground church, right? The ones that are non-compromising, the ones that are super good people. This is why it affects so many people when the government's changing policies right now on, if you don't support, if you don't, that little test that they get before you can get approved.
Yeah, if you don't support abortion, you're not going to get no funding for the summer jobs and stuff, right? That allows them to do this because they are divided. Right. And don't get me wrong here. this is not all about the Christian, but it's about freedom of religion in our country, right? And equality. And we've had this equality and that freedom of religion, and that's one beautiful thing about Canada. We can worship wherever you want, and all these religions have been able to live together in a prosperous way.
Right, but if you go back to, we just need to get back to law. It says somewhere in there in Deuteronomy or somewhere, do not add to or take away from my word, which is a law, right? And it boils down to some pretty basic stuff.
Keep it simple.
And that is that, treat others as you wish to be treated, and do no harm. That's it. Okay?
Wow.
If you can follow that, you're good to go. But what happens, because I don't like the word Christian, because it was usurped by the Catholic Church,
yes,
or by Rome. Okay, so it was twisted. So it wasn't the 1500s when Luther and the boys went, wait a minute here, this is crooked as hell, and gave the boot to Rome and put them in their place for a long, long time. Catholic couldn't hold public office for a long time, right? When our forefathers came to these shores, there was three things that they didn't want anywhere near them: Catholics, Jews, and lawyers, right? The weasels, the foxes, and the snakes. They wanted them out of their house. And they eventually, through deception and that, weaseled their way back in. Now our countries are run by lawyers. And Catholicism has taken over all of the Protestant churches, the Jews are the Jews, right? Even after World War II, the ships with the Jews on it were still not allowed in Canada. They just said piss off. We're looking for good people, right? And the only way you're going to beat evil down is if you have enough good people stand up and shine the light on the evil.
They're all there.
I actually believe in the goodness of the people of Canada. Like, the lives that we've lived here is not a lie. We are good people. We're hard workers. We look out for each other. We have the lowest hate and racism statistics in the world. So this divide and conquer agenda on us, there's a real big chance that it won't work if the people understand that they have to stand up for each other. When we have a prime minister that's saying that everyone's Islamophobia, when we have a prime minister that says evangelical Christians are the worst part of Canadian society.
Well, because they're the threat. This is the whole point, that they call them. I guess you better put something in front of it. Real Christian, I guess. They are what the governments of all governments in the entire world fear. Only the real Christians don't understand they have the power. This is the problem. They don't understand the power that they hold.
That's right.
And hopefully through this conference that you guys are doing on 13th and 14th, that you can empower these people to understand that they don't. It really makes me nuts about Christians is that, well, we'll just pray. Well, no, you're supposed to stand up.
That's right.
Okay, your job is to stand up.
Yes, the message is simple. It's you don't need to fight. All you need to do is to unite. Because if you don't unite, you will have to fight for your survival, and that's right. Basically what it comes down to. And when it comes down, and we start talking about religion. I mean, I break it down to something very simple. I mean, it's all, if you throw all this stuff out of the window, religion and history and all this stuff, which is only meant to scramble your waves and make you fight, it only comes down to two simple things: the good and the evil. And you don't have to be a religious person to know what evil is.
No.
And that's basically what it comes down to. So we don't really want any evil in Canada. So we don't want our waves to be scrambled. We want people to unite and be together. We have many, our country was built on immigration. We have some very tight community, our Hindu communities, our Iranian communities, Burmese communities, Chinese communities. These people are already united to begin with because they've came down here 10, 20, 30 years ago and they fled persecution. So they can actually teach us how to unite because our people here, have a problem uniting. So basically we are trying to take the most divided groups and put them together. And the Christians are really, really, really divided across the globe, and they're really getting it across the globe right now. And this is moving into Canada here slowly.
Yeah, and the problem is, and this is something else that
we need to get Sandra on here.
Well, yeah, I'll see if she's
waiting
in yet. But the main problem is that we live in a legal system, which is a lawyer system, which somewhere in that book it says, woe unto you lawyers. And if you look up attorney, which is lawyer, someone is a term from one lord to another. If you go back far enough in history, you will see that the kings were acting as proxies of God, and the oath they took was that if they strayed from the word, then they didn't have the authority to rule, and that they were now in tyranny. And that's what we're in now. We're in tyranny because the lawyers, if you go back, the lawyers are the ones that really hornswoggled the kings because they end up funding their wars and that, and then they become beholden to them. And so the lawyers, the legal system is exactly opposite of law.
Yes.
And we need to get back to law. You will never have freedom and you will never have peace as long as we're in this stupid legal system. Because the legal system is the opposite of law. And this is something that the Christian people have to understand. I mean they got the book, right? they got the book. Read the damn book, right? I mean it's right in your face. So if the legal system was a changing of our status, and it changes from men having dominion to animals, with the men who deceive them having dominion over them, and that's ass backwards, and it's evil. So this is not a fight about religion. It's only a fight about right and wrong. It's a fight about good and fight about evil.
That's right.
And either the good stand up and they beat the evil out of here, or the evil will continue to rise, and well, your life ain't going to be worth dick if you don't stand up.
Yes.
So these people, I see a lot of people in the chat about religion. If you go in the good book, there's nothing really good said about religion, okay? And you're not supposed to, your creator doesn't have respect for persons, and you're not supposed to have respect for persons. Well, it's a person. A person's a corporate entity. Now, where'd that come from? The lawyers. Woe unto you lawyers, right? So we have to make a complete switch out here, and you're not going to do it overnight. But like what you guys are doing out there in Calgary, if we don't do something, then we lose. We're guaranteeing our loss.
Yes, we know where it's heading. And I mean, we're going to use this opportunity of division that's going on right now. Like Canada has never been as divided as it is now. And we're going to use this opportunity to bring back the people, unity in Canada better than it was even before. This is the goal, for everyone to stick together and have one powerful voice, for our Canadians, and preserve, our freedom of speech, our rights, and help to preserve the Canadian ideology that was built by our ancestors and forefathers.
Well, right? Yeah, but see, our ancestors and our forefathers, they left to get out from under the Buddha tyranny. That's why they came here. They didn't come on a vacation. They didn't come on an all-exclusive vacation to a hotel. They came here to build a new life for their families, build a life in law, right? and get out from the tyranny of the legal system. That's why they didn't want lawyers or Catholics or Jews in their towns, in their villages when they first got here. But generationally, through gifts and benefits, the people were weakened. So we need to get back to the same position mentally, physically, and spiritually as our forefathers were. They were very strong spiritually, and they had very strong minds, and they were very determined people, and they were strong physically. And we've become weak in all three categories, and we have to build that strength again.
Right.
And I think this conference is a good start point.
Yes. We should get Sandra here so she don't fall asleep.
Well, I'm just trying to see if she's hooked up here yet. I don't.
She should be. But yeah, we've got a lot of work to do, and we're gonna get there because we're working for the people. And I mean, we have a lot of stuff. A lot of forces trying to shut us down. Of course, we can.
Oh, I do got her in here.
You got
have her in here. Yeah. Now, Sandra Solomon, just to get this straight, is this the Muslim lady that's always yapping in Mississauga?
She's the next Muslim girl. Sandra.
She's a dark-haired girl.
Yes.
Is that who you had on last night?
Yes, I was actually talking on one of her little shows she's got going. But get her on there. She can tell you who she is and what she's going through.
Drag her here.
She's very.
She can maybe explain how that Canadians need to get strong.
She can explain a lot. She's a wealth of the education.
Well, let me bring her in here then.
She's amazing. Yes.
Well, see, I can't deal with this. I mean, I got this thing that says the Lion of Judah with an Israeli flag flying, unless she's.
Hello.
Yeah, Sandra, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, welcome to the show. I'm the host, Ron, and I have Carl Fleury in here, who you know well, and Karen Draper out of Calgary, talking about the event they're going to do on the 13th and 14th.
Yes.
So I've seen you around. I'm not from this. I'm north of Toronto, a couple hours, or northwest of Toronto, a couple hours. But I've seen some of your stuff there, and you were a Muslim.
Yeah.
And now you're not. I can tell because you don't have
Praise
your headscarf.
the Lord.
You don't have your headscarf on, which was a clue. But how long have you been in Canada, dear?
Since 2005.
2005?
Mm-hmm.
So you must have seen a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Since 2005. I remember seeing you speak out. I remember seeing you speak out on M103.
Yes.
And you see that as a total threat, right?
Yeah.
But
definitely.
So I have this deal. I've done a lot of study on this, and I keep seeing this stuff where the Muslims hate the Jews, but at least here in Canada, the Jews and the Muslims are working hand in hand with each other. I find it rather ridiculous. They had a Christmas dinner, and the only people invited to the Christmas dinner were MPs of the Jewish faith and the Muslim faith, and neither one of them celebrate Christmas. So while everyone was celebrating Christmas in Canada, the MP Jews and the MP Muslims got together for a little dinner, so they could continue to plot against the people in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
I would like Sandra to give us a quick resume on why she's here and how she got here, and why she's here today.
Absolutely.
To share her story a little bit, so people understand really who Sandra is and what she's doing for Canada, for the Canadian people. Go ahead, Sandra, my love.
Okay. Story short, I came to this country as an immigrant. and I was single mom. I have my child with me. He was only like 3.5 years. He's still a baby, with no language, no money, nobody. I just escaped. I just wanted to, escape the brutal regime of barbaric govern in Saudi Arabia. I was raised in Saudi Arabia most of my life since I was 9 years old, living under 100% Sharia law constitution. It was a hell for me as a woman. So I did what I did, and I fought for my freedom for so many years. I was persecuted and discriminated and treated as a second-class citizen, and I did not have my freedom and my critical thinking of rebelling against Sharia and critical thinking of analyzing Quran and the founder of Islam, Muhammad, refusing to submit to Sharia law. That led me to not wanting to live in Middle East, and things happened. Through my ex, we applied to Canada, and I got my papers, and I did what I can do to just, as soon as I received the papers, I escaped right away to this beautiful country. Since then, I, find my way up, starting from scratch. As a single mom with no language and no money, it was really hard, difficult in the beginning, but I did what I can do to continue my life and enjoy the freedom that I've been fighting for it for many years. I was not just persecuted. My brother attempted to murder me with the honor killing many times. I faced death many times. I was tortured physically, mentally, psychologically, and every way. Just the fact I was house arrest. They refused to let me continue my education, and even though I was very smart in school, and I was one of the highest mark in schools, and I know that I could have achieved lots of things if my family wasn't, or especially my brother wasn't a very strictly Muslim, very devout Muslim, and I couldn't do much about it. And anyway, so I came to this country. I gained my freedom, and years after, I became a Christian. I started to follow Jesus Christ, and right away, I became like a street preacher, I would say evangelist, and trying to focus into preaching to Muslims as well, to understand that Quran, it's not the word of God. Following Muhammad, it's not gonna lead for anything good. He's not a man to take him as a role model. Anyway, so many things, and slowly I got involved into the political level when Trudeau came to power. And right away, I know it, that there's something wrong in this country going on, and there's something danger. The fact that he praised so much, of trying to defend Islam and trying to single out the Muslim community on top of everyone. And my as a human, or also like as a woman who escaped Sharia law, and Canada give me a lot. This country give me a lot. Give me the shelter, give me the food, give me the opportunity to stand up on my feet again, and get my little bit of my education, and I finished my college as a beautician, and I tried to raise my child, and I got the security, I got the safety, I got the freedom. So I stepped into the political activity not too long as when Trudeau came into power, and I start doing my political kind of movement, or I would say to raise awareness, to create awareness, how danger living under Sharia law, the fact that I see it creeping, and especially when I started, when they give the chance, or they give the Muslims the okay to do the Friday prayer in school, to bring Quran to schools. And to me, that was the biggest red flag ever. the fact that I know that the Quran, it's a hate literature and cannot be in the hands of the kids, and this is part of the Islamization. So that what led me to just, I couldn't take it anymore. I said, you know what, let me step in and try to start to educate Canadians of the danger of Islam, and I want them to wake up for the Islamization of this country. So that's basically, as fast as I can, my story.
Well, Sandra, are you aware that? It sounds like it's this is the one thing, we spent some time going to court in Newmarket with Michael Schmidt, the raw milk farmer up here, and I had the opportunity when I was down there to meet a lot of people who had immigrated to Canada from all over the place, from the Middle East and from Western Europe and Eastern Europe and that. And a lot of them who came here for the idea of freedom, now that they've been here a little while, think they got lied to because the freedom that they thought they were coming from was a lot less than they expected. The other thing that I'm not sure if you're aware of or not, you probably are, because I know you've been at this for quite a while, speaking your voice anywhere you can, and that's much appreciated. But the awareness that Islam and Sharia have been chosen by the United Nations as the basis of the world religion and world law. They had, I can't remember what that declaration was, but there was a huge Muslim faction back as far back, I think, as the League of Nations, and then into the United Nations. And what they're saying is that because Sharia and Islam are basically what this nation was founded on in the first place, was the law of a creator, and then they secularized our society and took that law away and give us the legal system, so that it took the idea of a creator completely away. So it separated the idea of creation and law. And now they're saying that Islam, because it was never separated, is the best option for our religion and law, and that's why they're building mosques all over the place. That's why, and we're connected with the UN, so we are connected to their agreements that were made that we have to open our borders to basically anybody, and we have to accommodate basically anybody into this country. But the main faction that they're pushing is Islam. And that's a very dangerous thing, because they've opened up our borders as per a contract with the United Nations. Yes. So, one of my things is that what we need to do is we need to really promote the idea of cutting all ties with the United Nations, because as long as we're tied to the United Nations, then we're tied to these stupid agreements, which have been totally negative to this country.
Yeah.
The United Nations is totally infiltrated by evil. Can I ask Sandra another question? We know that all these mosques are being built everywhere. Okay, now Sandra, you know the history of Islam. What was the purpose of a mosque back in the days of Muhammad?
Well, Muhammad did not really start a religion as much as he started a state, and the mosque, at that time, it was for the purpose of gathering the thugs and the bandits that Muhammad started with his conquest, and he needed a place, let's say a center, convention center, for example, or anything. So they can gather, they can meet, and they can keep the groups growing more and more and recruiting people. referring people to it. So basically, yeah, it was not really for, he covered it up with some religious ritual when it comes to the prayers and all that and reciting the Quran and all that stuff. But mainly it was and he did not trust people. So he needed people to always be gathered together under one roof. So basically to plan the conquest, to plan the next conquest, and to charge people with hate and you know, for them to become extremists and terrorists and to plan for the jihad and all that stuff.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, you guys? Sandra can answer some pretty good questions when it comes to Islam. She knows the entire Quran in Arabic. She's a great wealth of education. So let's take advantage of it while we got her here. And also for you people out there who would like to follow Sandra, she's on YouTube on Voice of Sandra Solomon. There's some amazing stuff in education on there. I strongly suggest that you go and check it out and educate yourself.
Yeah, there's some good, I watched some of Sandra's videos, and there's some good information there that people need to understand. And it's really weird, you know, because I don't know if you can answer this, Sandra, or not, but the way I see this is that, like, here in rural Ontario now, this is really the infiltration of Islam throughout the country. Now, most immigrants end up in the cities in Canada, but now there's a big movement to move them into the rural areas. Mm-hmm. You know, like my town here is only 7,500 people, and we now have a little Muslim outfit here. We don't have any mosques or anything, but it's just a start point. And now we have actually people who come from Marxist factions going around to the town councils, and this is all part of the puzzle that goes on behind the scenes, because all the municipal governments are involved in it. So they have these speakers come to the councils saying, you know, that we need to build our population in the rural areas, and the best option we have is Islam. And so that's not, you know, it's not going over well here in the rural areas. You know, I've had, especially white women, I find the women stronger than the men. I keep saying that, but it's true. You know, some of the women will, you know, I'll post something and they say, that's you come up here and you try that nonsense up here. We're armed, right? And it's not guys saying it, it's women that's saying it, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, this is a plot. It's a plan. It's a takedown or an attempted takedown of this nation. And they want to remove the Christian faith, of which I've said for decades that two things have to fall: the American Constitution and Christianity. And so they took Christianity out of the schools, and like you were saying, now they've got the kids being taught the Quran in the schools, right? So you make a void, and then you got to fill the void.
Exactly. The earlier, the better. To them, they want to brainwash our kids. They want to indoctrinate them with Islamic teaching slowly. And recently, they start in Alberta. They're starting Arabic program in schools from KJ to grade 12. So basically, it's not about the language. It's about teaching them Quranic and Islamic teaching. Slowly, they want to take our kids from us, you know?
Exactly.
Why teaching Arabic in Canadian schools? Like, it's English. So what's the purpose of having Arabic program? And it's not optional. It's going to be given to the kids. So why they would have to learn Arabic?
Well, because the whole point is that they have to remove Christianity completely out of the country, so that because that's what's standing in the way of their world domination.
That's right.
I mean, you may find this interesting, Sandra. I went to they flyered our town and all the little towns in rural Ontario a few years ago as Islam is the religion of peace. And they had a meeting at the library of the Islamic youth. And so I went to it, and I was the only one that showed up to it, which was okay because then we had a chance to talk. So we talked for about 2 hours, and what I asked these young guys, and they had some older guys there as well as their handlers, but, I'm asking them, I said, so you're convinced that Islam will be the faith in Canada? And the guys went, yes. Mm-hmm. And you're also convinced that Sharia will be the law in Canada? And they went, yes. And I said, but, you realize that you're just being used as useful idiots? Mm-hmm. Okay? Because once you've done your job, which is to erase Christianity, then you're next on the chopping block because they don't want you either.
Yes, right? Just like it happened 1,400 years ago in Mecca.
Exactly. Yes. You're just useful idiots.
We're reliving history here.
Yeah. Yeah, history repeats because the same people have been allowed to control history, and it's time the people decided to control their own history. So we have a lot of work to do. So you must find it really weird, Sandra, coming from a place. Where'd you come from, Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I was raised in Saudi Arabia. That I keep saying something that for people to understand, if you don't know what happened 1,400 years ago, they will never understand what's going on now. Like, they have to understand that Muhammad, when he started his claiming that he's a prophet and he wants to bring people to the oneness of God, the message of Tawheed in Arabic. This is a very important word for every Muslim. They are brainwashed with it, and they think that in any and everyone else who is, they are polytheists and they are pagans and they worship many gods and all that stuff. So basically, he gathered the thugs and the bandits, and he took them to Medina, another city beside Mecca. And he started the first army, and then he showed the real face of him building the first army and start waging war, call it holy war. And each and every warrior in this war called jihadists, and they have to wage a jihad and terrorize everyone. It's and spread it by the sword and force people to submit to Sharia law, basically to submit to Muhammad and his book, Quran, and whatever in it. So basically, people, if they're not gonna understand that when you talk about history, Muhammad, he said, I will never live in the land of Arab, only Muslims, no Christians, no Jews. He said that's the word. This is the coming from the mouth of Muhammad himself, and he said, I've been ordered to fight people until they witness that there is no God but Allah and I am his messenger. So basically, waging wars and killing innocent people, wiping off many tribes in the Arabic Peninsula at that time, before they call it Saudi Arabia. And there's lots of stories of wiping off Jews and Christians and all this stuff. So basically, this is what happened. And history repeats itself. Islam did not spread by the flour and chocolates. It spread by the sword. And generation after generation, they born into it. They've been brainwashed with it. And we did not realize the true face of Islam until we start to, remove the holiness of Muhammad and the holiness of the Quran and start to criticize it and see it for what it is. They call the war opening. He twisted, it's a twisted ideology. It's a totalitarian ideology masked with religion. So
that works well for the New World Order because that's totalitarian,
exactly.
Right?
Yes, and number one thing, I keep repeating it over and over, everyone need to understand that Islam do not believe in border. Since I was, I would say 14, 15 years old, we've been doctrined in school in Saudi Arabia that we are going to take over the world. We're going to build the worldwide Islamic caliphate. This is our ultimate goal. And this is, I've been learning this since I was teenage, and now like I'm old, and these things, it's been already planted, like the plan, it's already planted like years and years ago. And if you read the Islamic history, there's so many caliphates rised up and collapsed. The last one, it was the Osmanic caliphate. This one, the Osmanic Empire. So basically, they have a fantasy or the dream to bring back the ages, when they took over Europe, and when they took over and spread Islam everywhere and make people submit to Sharia law, and until the flag of Islam, they call it in Arabic the Raya of Islam, flies on top of every country in the world.
Okay, just let me jump in here for a second, Sandra. Yep. We're going to be going to break here in about, I don't know, a minute or so. So if you guys can just mute up your mics when you hear the music, we'll take about a 4-minute break, and then we'll be back, because I'm really interested in what you're saying here, because most people in this country, in the West, have no idea of the history. No idea whatsoever.
Knowledge
the other
is power,
thing I just wanted to say before we went to break, you must be really, I don't know what to use the word, irritated. You came here to get away from what you were living under.
Yes.
And to come here and to see what's going on now must be just a hellish shock to you.
It's all in her back.
And to see the Canadian people just laying down.
Because they're not educated.
I'm under threat to be killed. I'm apostate from Islam. I'm under.
Okay, just hold that thought. We're going to break now.
Yeah.
So just mute up, and I'm going to go have a smoke myself, and we'll be back. We'll be back in about 4 minutes.
Size or regular?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, and we'll be back in about 4 minutes, folks.
Sounds great. Thanks, Ron.
And co-host Marine Corps Map, coming to you on Monday and Tuesdays in Studio A, noon to 2 Eastern.
On the in the U.S.
This is a go.
The back.
Please join us on Monday through Wednesdays.
Radio.
We're not gonna take it anymore. That's right, we're not gonna take it anymore. We said we're not gonna take it anymore. That's right, we're not gonna take it anymore.
Okay, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat right here on Revolution Radio, freeswitch.com, also being broadcast over to UCY.tv. And just before I get back to the guests,
I want to say you're awesome, by the way.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
But the music's not working here today at all. I don't know if we're in or we're out. I think we're back in. But just before we get back to the show, I want to say that Revolution Radio and these other small networks who are doing their damnedest to give us airtime,
yes,
so that we can have guests like we have on today, they're all listener funded, okay, and they're all running on a shoestring. And we're fighting against people who have untold billions and billions of dollars to fund NGOs and fund all the propaganda and all that kind of stuff. So it's extremely important that these networks stay on the air. So being listener funded, you can go and you will find a donate button, and just kindly reach in your pocket. And if you got $5, $10, $20, $30, whatever, send it, because we have to keep these networks on the air.
Yes.
Anyway, so I'm
keep
here
the truth
with.
Alive.
Well, yeah.
Keep the truth alive. Keep the truth alive, people.
Yeah.
Like we seek the truth for you.
That's the only thing we do, and
yes.
So I'm here with Carl Fleury from Lloydminster and Karen Draper from Calgary and Sandra Solomon from Mississauga. And we're talking about a couple of things. We're talking about The Time Is Now, which is a conference going to be going on in Calgary on the 13th and 14th of April. And we're also talking about the Islamic influx into this country. And Sandra being from Saudi Arabia, having escaped the Muslim Islamic Sharia law, is here now in Canada, watching this great country of ours beginning to submit itself to what she escaped. And I think that should be a note to any Canadian, that we got a problem on our hands and we need to deal with it. So have I got everybody back?
Yes, I'm back with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I got a couple of questions for Sandra, if you don't mind.
Not a
Would that
problem.
be good? My question number one, could you explain to people here in our country what the hijra is? The hijra, you know?
Okay.
And what's the goal of the hijra? So, because people don't know.
Okay, hijra, it's Arabic word for immigration. So basically, Muslims ordered from the Quran to do hijra for the sake of Allah, not for the sake of finding a better life or better job or better opportunity, what so on, or get education or anything. No, the main purpose of hijra, which is immigration, is to spread Islam for the sake of Allah. And to part of the Islamization, to build on massive number, and to convert people, to bring more people from different countries, different part of the world into Islam. So basically, that's what hijra mean, and that's the purpose of it, coming from Sharia law, like the constitutional book, which is the Quran.
Yeah, and it doesn't. I find it rather interesting that Trudeau went down to visit what the hell they call him?
The Aga Khan?
The Aga Khan.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't very long after he got back that we ended up with a Muslim immigration minister. The
thing is, they do everything under the light, like nothing is hiding. The only thing is stressing, like bother me the most. It's us, the Canadian, are quiet about it. They're not hiding their agenda. The strategy book for the destruction of the world is the Quran. Read it. As an ex-Muslim, the oath that we have to give in school all the time, Islam, it's our religion. Quran, it's our constitution. Muhammad, it's our prophet. Jihad, it's our way. And dying for Allah, it's our ultimate dream.
And the message to Canada is, and the Canadian people, is you will bow to our desires, right?
Exactly. You will
and the Canadian people go, oh well.
Yes. Oh yeah. Let me see. Let me think. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, Canadian people are scared. And I mean, why can they do this? And they can do it wide in the open? Is because they've managed to divide Canadians. Like, they've managed to create a division agenda that's really working well, and people are falling for it.
Not only that, as our patriotic movement, we have a good amount of activists and people who is fully knowledge about Islam, and they are willing to do whatever they can do. But we are not really well funded. We are not well sponsored. How many times I'm telling people regarding my upcoming campaign, regarding my activities, I'm facing so much difficulties from different aspects, you know what I mean, to bring the message out there. Yeah.
Censorship is a big one. They want to make sure, the truth don't come out anywhere. And Alexandra has been in Facebook jail, I know, many times. Yeah. And
I think I got the record. I was out for 7 days, and I was out for 2 minutes, and I was put right back in jail again.
No, I got the record for every time 30 days. 30 days.
Facebook is teaching you to be dictated slowly. That's what it does. That's what Facebook is.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous, but they're really hammering down on us now as far as freedom of speech goes. They're taking away any
fake news. Yes, fake news and fake media are. It's all coming together. It's not just the Muslim. We always blame Muslim. I don't really blame Muslim all the time. I blame Canadians. I blame the government. I blame the people.
Well, actually, I don't blame any individual. Because just like in any movement that's ever taken place in history, the average man or woman really doesn't have a clue what's going on in the background, and I think this is the problem. I know my corner store. I go get my coffee. They're Muslim, and I'm running in the election in Ontario. this year, and they're happy that I'm running. They have no idea what's going on. Just like the Christians seemingly don't have any idea what's going on. Most of the, at least around here, Muslims don't. They just came. Well, they came here for the same reason you came here, Sandra.
Yes,
I
right?
did not came as a Muslim. Number one, I was not Muslim. I did not came for the same purpose. A majority of Muslims, 99% of Muslims, they are here for the sake of Islamization. Very few for the other purposes. Even though these Muslims, I'm sorry, I cannot call them Muslims. The peaceful one, the very nice one, who's very lovey and very lovey and very nice. According to Islamic Sharia law, to Constitution, Quran, they are not Muslim. They are apostate from Islam, and they should be treated as the kafirs, which is you and me, which is the infidels, and the day will come and they will face persecutions, same as any other non-Muslim, because they're not following what Sharia law actually is telling them. It's either they are practicing taqiyya, or either they are naive and they're not fully understanding what Islam is all about.
Well, I think that's what
I don't trust any Muslim.
They're not fully understanding of what
Exactly.
it is.
Explain the taqiyya and
just like politics is there to divide and conquer. Religion is there to divide and conquer.
Well,
Now they've divided the people here since the get-go, but the upside is they haven't conquered us yet.
Nope.
Okay, and that's where this game has to be played out now. We have to, like you said, Carl, we got to bring the people back together again.
yes.
We got to get the knowledge to them that they've been divided for the purpose of being conquered. And once people understand what's going on, I still believe, and I will always believe, that our forefathers' blood is still coursing in our veins, and they came here to get out from underneath the Buddha tyranny. And now we've had the Buddha tyranny placed right back on our necks again, but we're not conquered yet. And I don't believe we're going to be conquered. I do believe that Canada is going to be the nation that shines a light bright enough, and that we will stand our ground, and that we will be the light for the rest of the world to follow.
Yes,
I
we
hope
will.
so.
we will.
I believe
right.
we will, because we don't have a choice. There is no
That's
choice
right.
in this matter. This is game on, right? There's a war going on our land, and it's a spiritual, psychological war.
Yeah.
That's it.
And we have to rise up and beat it down.
I
And do
mean,
believe we
I
can
hope
do it.
so. I always pray for it, and I always pray for church revival. As a Christian, we should be at the front line defending this country. So many things I'm disappointed, though, like from so many Canadians, how much naive they are, and how much they're not getting it, even though we keep repeating it over and over. And no, we don't have to repeat it. I've been showing people so many videos of so many imams here in Canada. We have them on the videos saying what they're saying, and yet people are not taking it serious. Clearly, I reported them to the police. Ahmed Abdul Qadir Qandil, Imam Ahmed Abdul Qadir, Imam Shahriyar al-Sheikh, Imam Saeed Rajih. I went to the police station and I showed them that these imams, Canadian imams, one in Scarborough, other one in somewhere else or whatever, I have the video, and they're saying it clearly, whoever leave Islam should be executed. Tell me this is not inciting violence. Tell me this is not inciting of hatred. Tell me this is not asking people to go and kill people.
And the police did nothing, right?
Nothing.
No, because
Nothing.
they're all on. So they've all been internationalized as well. I mean, we're basically under international law now, but I get a kick out of that because you're so frustrated with how docile Canadians are, and you got here in 2005. I was born here, so I've been freaking out about how docile my fellow Canadians are since I was quite a young man.
Yeah.
It's frustrating as hell. But I do also believe that regardless of where people are, they have the ability to turn a blind eye or turn away from something if it doesn't negatively affect them personally. I've been waiting for.
What more than opening the door for ISIS to come? What else they need? Like what else?
Well, they need a lot of things actually, but finally, people are they're feeling their backs against the wall now, and that's what it takes before people will start to actually accept there's a problem. So we're actually at the right stage now. We are at the beginning.
We're at a prevention stage.
This is the beginning of the rise of the Canadian people. A lot of people are frustrated. I've had lots of good friends who've been researching for decades who just basically ended up throwing their hands up in the air and saying these people are too stupid to understand anything. And when I try to explain to those people, I say, you're just early. Okay? Don't stop what you're doing. You're just early. Mm-hmm. The people aren't there yet. Okay? And we just have to keep moving forward. The people will come together. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and we will win this, and it's going to be a glorious thing, and we're going to do it without violence, but we're going to bring our people together, and, the old story, all the people have to do is stand.
Let me tell you something. Even if we got a new prime minister who's really for Canada or for Canadians.
There is no prime minister that, like a lot of people are going, oh, Scheer, he's going to be... No, here's the question. No. Here's the only question you got to put to any politician, especially someone that's running for prime minister. If you're voted prime minister, okay, will you unequivocally promise to cut all ties with the United Nations, which immediately gives us back control of our borders?
Right.
Yes.
And if you're not prepared to do that, then you're working for the other side.
Right.
Okay.
Totally right.
And that's what we have to hammer at these people.
Not only that, the Islamization, I promise you, it will never stop.
Oh, no.
We'll stop it.
No. You can't.
No. You can't stop it. It's always going to go. It's always going to be fighting it.
The only one way to stop it is by designating Quran legally, officially, from the government as a hate literature.
Well, okay, that's the same thing. I mean, it can be stopped. But,
you cannot stop it like this and say, okay, we're not going to allow Muslims, or we're not going to allow building mosque, we're not going to allow doing any Islamic school or whatever. No. It's the source, the root of the problem. It's not the root of the
problem at this point. Okay, is a like the Vatican has oversight at the UN. Okay, they're not a country, but they have oversight.
Right.
And they're part of the planning committee. Mm-hmm. And, the simple way to put a stop to this is simply say, we cut in all ties with the UN. We are not going to be any way associated to the UN. Take all of your international law and shove it where the sun don't shine. And we're making our own rules. We don't run this country, okay? This country's run from the outside. There is no politician in this country that is representing the people.
Well said.
Right.
They don't have the power to do so.
No, and people ask me why I keep asking people to run in elections. Well, listen, all you got to look at is if you don't run, okay, someone else is going to run.
Yes.
Whoever's sitting in power makes the rules.
Right.
Okay, and who they're putting into power here are the very people trying to take the country down. So you, as a Canadian, have to stand up and run in these damned elections.
True, very true, 100%. As I said, we need to, I'm looking into either registering a political party, or there is another political parties. I'm going to look into it, meeting people soon to see which one I can be joining, because we have to step Islam, it's a political ideology, so you need to fight it politically. If you're not going to fight it politically, it's going to be hard for you to have a control of your country.
That's right. That's why they create a government within a government. Then you can create a country within a country.
Don't forget, to every Muslim, regardless, nice or not nice, radical or not radical, which is, I hate to call some Muslims like a moderate. There is no such a thing called moderate Muslim. But regardless, how nice is your neighbor? Every Muslim, they Quran to them, it's their constitution. Period.
Explain the taqiyya, which is the most important weapon, and it's being used in Canada, the taqiyya. This is like Very powerful.
Every Muslim is being ordered. When I say they are ordered, I don't know how many are really following the order, but I'm talking from the source of the root of the problem, which is the Quran. They are ordered to use the taqiyya, which is in Islam, it's halal to lie. Halal mean legal, permitted. It's okay for you to use it. Permissible. That's the right word. To lie to the infidels, the kafirs, the Islamic term, until you get what you want. And you have to hide the hatred in your hearts. But verbally, you have to speak nice and lovey-dovey until you got what you want. Once you are in power, then show the real face. Because they consider themselves in a war. And Muhammad said war is a khud'a, scheme. So you have to scheme them. You have to manipulate the system and try as much as you can to hide your real agenda until you are fully in power or overnumbered, for example. Like that's why they want to bring this massive number. And don't forget, under Sharia law, Islamic Sharia law, women cannot have a birth control. They have to make lots of babies. And within few years, they can overnumber too. This is another way of controlling and taking over. It's by number.
And this is how long this has been going on, Sandra. This is long before you ever got here.
Yeah.
In the West, the propaganda about not having children, you have a better life if you don't have children, or if you only have one or two children. And then when they stymied the growth rate in Europe and in North America, then they come out with the rhetoric, well, you should have had children. You didn't have enough children. We're below replacement value, so we have to bring in tons of immigrants now. I mean,
right.
they use propaganda to get people to do stuff, and then they blame people for listening to the propaganda because the propaganda caused the problem, and now they're going to fix the problem with immigration.
Right, and I won't call it immigration as much as I will say it's invasion. It's already planned, as you know.
Oh, it's an invasion. There's no way of saying
it is invasion. And the war in Syria, it will never finish. The war in Middle East, it will never finish. It's eternally.
Well, those wars in the Middle East and that, some of those people who were displaced were born in UN camps and that, and they're like 30 years old now. So they've been primed. In other words, what they've been doing is building by bombing these Mideast countries and that. What they've all been doing is they've been building up the infantry to invade the West. And that's exactly what's going on now. All these people that, why are we bombing the Middle East? What the hell's the point of that? Well, there has to be a reason for it, and the reason is migration.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
May I speak on this a little bit? Because when we're talking about the New World Order, and we're talking about this super long plan, or old plan on how to have a one world government and own the whole world, it actually dates back these hundreds of years, like when Islam was being created 1400 years ago, and the people there ever since have been born under indoctrination, under this false religion. Then also what was happening 1400 years ago is that's when the secret societies and those corrupt groups that were doing their point-to-poping processes, and the growth of the Roman Catholic Church and all that sinister beliefs there, it was also happening parallel to that. And so we got this hundreds of year old plan on how to make a one world order. It includes, and it's documented for centuries, they want to poison our food. They want to indoctrinate the youth. They want to own all the resources. They want to cause war and conflict in all different nations. So when you look at how all these satanic groups and all the evil doings that have been happening all over the world for hundreds of years, when you take all this and look at the big picture, these are all the same people. As it gets closer to now, we're talking about the banking families, the royal families, These are bloodlines of self-appointed leaders that are stealing, laundering, taxing, hurting people for centuries now. And it includes our country of Canada, which is, when our prime ministers get in, it is a crown corporation. They take an oath to the crown corporation. And right now, the Queen of England owns 89% of our country and our land, right? So the people of Canada, as much as our hearts are good, and like ever since I was born, we have felt that we are donating to help develop third world countries, that the conflicts in Africa, and all the things that have been projected to us through the organizations like the United Nations, the World Health Federation, like list is endless of these organizations that say they are doing good for the people. Yes. They have actually been stealing, funding war and starvation, and so the hearts of Canadians is not a lie. Actually, majority of the people in the world are good people that want to just, raise their families, to lead good lives, and make sure that their children have futures and they can feed their families. Majority of the world are good people, but every single nation, every single organization has been infiltrated by Satanism, right? Yeah. By this evil agenda.
Evildoers.
So when we take it right now to here in Canada today, and we can even talk, you were talking about the 70s propaganda, and the first Trudeau, when multiculturalism was pressed, and when the women were told they need to fight for their rights, they need to go to work, instead of raise children and be at home and grow gardens and prepare for the winters. And, when our forefathers were living really difficult lives that people seem to have a lack of respect of nowadays. And then we take it to the current hate agenda that's happening over Canada. People should be super furious because they're basically saying that your grandparents were racist. They're basically saying that their grandparents were all racist savages. Like, we're talking about the last couple hundreds of years of people, and then we're taking these last several decades here in Canada where we have grown as a people and we accept the multiculturalism. We live peacefully together with the lowest hate crimes and racism statistics. Everyone should be sitting really proud of themselves, really proud of their neighbors, and they should stop talking crap about each other. And yes. and like these Facebook and comment threads, like even on this radio, everyone needs to take a deep breath and calm down on defending yourself to the ground, because right now we all have to put everybody else before ourselves. And it leads us to this group of people that are on the phone right now. All these people, like my great friends across Canada, we're so blessed to be uniting across Canada and talking amongst each other. We're talking to Sikh people, we're talking to Chinese people, we're talking to Aboriginals here, we're talking to ex-Muslims and people from India and Pakistan that come here that know what happens, and bless the internet for being able to share news to us so instantly that now we see that we were lied to. People in every nation were lied to. There's a reason that, and you know what? Some of the people that are hurting people, like, they are white. We understand their pain that they're going through because we thought we were donating to organizations to develop them, and it turns out our money that we've generated in these developed Western countries have been funding a war. Everyone should feel really, really bad that happened, and that in our own personal lives where we're focused on, we're told to go to school, train to have a good job, make sure you contribute to your community and be a good citizen, make sure you follow every single laws and pay all these taxes and pay all these fees on registration. Like, we have been economic slaves to fund the war. Everyone should, and we're eating poison, and right now our children are sick mentally with the indoctrination, with the Soji 123, and everyone's thinking they're bi or trans fluid, all these things. We have a multifaceted plan that's been attacking the whole world. And so what this event is about, it is about the people coming together and choosing not to fight, choosing to love before hate.
Yes.
Choosing to like, you got to get off the smart TVs and the Netflix, and you got, like, the AI thing is a real threat as well. These smart meters on our houses and the energy regulations, like, it's so complex. We can't even hash it all out in 2 hours. And this is what people, when, as soon as someone says something, like, if you're not Christian and we're talking about Christianity, then, you know, people just shut down and get defensive, right? We have to take all our differences, we have to put them in a basket, because we are all brothers and sisters.
That's right.
You're all fathers and sons.
So well said.
How's this for a compliment, Karen?
That was a beautiful speech.
Somebody just wrote in the chat that the woman speaking needs her own show.
Yeah,
because what you just said was brilliant.
It just blew me away. That was awesome.
No wonder everybody in Calgary hates your guts, Karen.
Yeah,
well,
man.
We do have our own show. Ron Stevens, one of my favorite people in Canada, because he speaks the truth for decades. And what's exciting about the 14th is not only are these people coming together, but these people come together with great ideas. From the 14th on, you're going to only see more, because we've got partnering on opening a magazine so people can get off this damaging social media, and we can distribute the truth, and we can all, like, just lower our blood pressure and feel just a little bit better and think logically. We need to become free thinkers, and we need to remember that each person in their city has a super big responsibility, and it is to look after your city. So while we're stressing to unite across Canada, it means to like what Sandra was talking about, running in the next elections. What it means is that, like, we need people in every city to be sharing the good news that we choose not to fight, that we choose to have a revolution in Canada. Right now, the next party, no one has faith in this Liberal Party. Great, because they are scum. They have their bloodlines as well are so gross. The Conservative Party is not making very many people happy right now, because they're not talking about actually sustaining and making sure that everyone's housed and fed. And if people aren't talking about actually, like, real sustainment, not United Nations sustainment, but real sustaining and protecting our people and our land and taking it back, then these are the wrong people. So what I really believe is going to happen after this event is, and with this magazine and with this new media and with people
and
feeling
more,
is that we are going to have 300 and how many reps are in the House of Commons? 300 and whatever. We're going to have 300 people running for a new party and a parallel system that is focused on all systems being reformed.
Yes. Now, that brings up, Karen, I don't know if anybody knows anything about the Doukhobors or not.
I do not.
But you don't, because they've gotten fairly quiet. Back in the 70s and that, the Doukhobors came from Eastern Russia, and they were Orthodox Christians, I believe that's what they were. And when they came to Canada, they came here for the same reason our forefathers came, was to get out from under the Buddha tyranny. And because Canada was wide open, they're mainly in British Columbia. They were a small sect, but they were a sect that refused to bow to the legal system. They were going by the word, by the law, and the government came down on them like a ton of bricks. And they used to, the ladies would, and these were fairly chunky ladies of any age, but their protest was just to strip down and protest, right? But it's worth looking up. I have to look them up again, because the Doukhobors were put off as a really strange group of people. But what they were really was a group of Orthodox Christians who believed in the book and believed in the creator and believed that they had a duty to follow the law. And the legal system and the law are two opposite poles. And so, why do I hear music? What is that?
Oh, that's my telephone. I'm trying to shut it off.
Okay. No, I was looking at the time.
I've got Kevin J. Johnson calling me here.
I was thinking that's wrong. Okay, that's cool. But
let me take this call for a second.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe it's the Prime Minister. Tell him to come on. But the Duke of Boers look into it because they were acting as a parallel.
I'll fill you in on some good stuff.
Parallel,
bye, my love.
Society.
Bye. Sorry about that, guys.
They built everything they built. I believe I think it was the Duke of Boers that built a bridge that the engineers still don't believe that a group of people with no engineering built this bridge. And it goes back to what Karen said. Okay, we are the ones who are responsible for our towns and our cities. Okay, but we got conned into believing that a group of 6, 9, 12 people, whatever the size of your city council is that we hand over all rights to those people and that they run everything. Well, it's proven that they don't do a good job of it because here in Ontario, we almost have twice the debt as California. But we have to get back to looking out for each other. And what they've done now is you have people always running to the government, complaining to the government about this, that, the other thing. Okay? So we've allowed them to confuse us into believing that, one, they're on our side, and two, that we have a duty to squeal on each other to the government in that.
Yes.
The government is not for or by the people. I mean, if you go back in history to Canada, it said we were given good government or responsible government, with a caveat that the word responsible and responsible government doesn't have the dictionary meaning of the word responsible, which means the government's irresponsible, you're liable, and chargeable and accountable, and the surety for the debt. So you're the responsible party. The government's the irresponsible party. But the whole idea that they have power over us instead of vice versa is ridiculous, right? But we never created a government in this country because it was never a country. When I talked to the guy from the AG's at the Attorney General's office, and we went through history, and he agreed with me that Canada, in reality, is nothing more than the rebranded Hudson's Bay Company. Hudson's Bay Company was a chartered company, a chartered crown company. It had its own lawyers, it had its own governors, it had its own jails, it had its own courts. And all Canada is the same, the exact same setup as the Hudson's Bay Company. We're a corporation, and we're the corporate slaves, and that's not a change.
If I can interrupt, just because there's 20 minutes left, I was just hoping we can talk.
And I'm going to need 5 of it.
Back of the 13th and 14th, because I'll just quickly just say what the itinerary is Friday night there is going to be a conference. The tickets are available at the United We Stand March for Freedom Facebook page, and it's it's Eventbrite link. So Friday night is going to be a guest lineup of speakers. There's Rob Anders, from the founder of the Conservative Party. There is Rob Taylor. He is actually leader of the Christian Heritage Party. And then we have Kevin J. Johnson, freedomreport.ca. And we have wonderful Sandra Solomon coming to speak on behalf of women's rights, real women's rights here in Canada, and why we are so blessed here being women in Canada. So Friday night, 6 p.m. 10 p.m. The tickets are available at Eventbrite.
Arthur Pawlowski will be there. You're missing some speakers
there, Pawlowski as well. Sorry, excuse me. That's right. Arthur Pawlowski as well. And, of course, Hope for More, Carl, me, everyone. So Saturday, 11 to 3, downtown at City Hall. This is a free public event. Everyone's welcome. Everyone's encouraged to come because we are going to be hundreds in the streets of Calgary. I'm hoping thousands. I'm hoping there's over 1,000.
1,000.
We are going to have a barbecue just to help fundraise a little bit for Street Church for thanks for feeding all the homeless people every day in our city. We are going to be having some speakers. It's a rally. There will be a march. We'll be carrying that big chain, and there's going to be a symbolic cutting of the chains because we are free people here in Canada. And then also there's going to be some music. We have a wonderful Christian singer. Her name is Becca Shea. She is a Billboard chart topper, Dove nomination. She has a song called Heartbeat. I encourage everyone to just go listen to it and hear that drum, because that is the heartbeat that we're trying to send across Canada to light a fire in your hearts. You're going to see people of all races there. No matter what the media says, we are not white supremacists. We are not Nazis. We are us. We are not them.
We're Canadian.
And then a Saturday night, we have Becca Shea performing live, a concert venue at the University of Calgary. The tickets for that are also on Eventbrite, although we find a really hard time searching for those tickets when, like, with our links, it's really weird. So you can go to the Time Is Now 2018 on Facebook, and the event page there has a link to the Eventbrite page. It seems to work really well right there. I've posted the links in the thread. So that night we will also have Rob Smets, who is a world champion in bullfighting. He is a man of God. His testimony and his life is a great story. He is a tough guy. We're going to be talking to the men in our country. I'm hoping that they hear the message that we need you guys to be strong, no matter what they say about how men are too masculine and all those things. We love our strong men in our country that are willing to fight for us. And we've got really strong women standing right beside our strong men. Okay. So the message about us uniting this weekend is going to be super powerful. And like you said, Ron, it's to spread this light over our country where people can feel good in their hearts that they are among good people. The hate and the divide is a lie. We are good people.
We're all good people.
We actually just saw too that, of course, the social justice groups and these George Soros funded groups. Lead Now is coming has been protesting Ford's win in Ontario, and we got Antifa that's always coming to these rallies in counter protest, calling us racist and white supremacists.
Most people don't know who Antifa is.
It's going to be hilarious. Antifa is those masked protesters that you see on the news. And the news will say, look at people clashing. They come and they crash our events and they call us white supremacists. It's going to be silly. It's going to be hilarious because we're going to have people from the Sikh community, the Chinese community, the Aboriginals are there, white people are there. We have Arabic people that are there. Do you know what I mean? Polish, like Art is an immigrant himself. So they call us anti-immigration. They call us racist. And they are going to be holding their signs among hundreds of people. Jamaican people are going to be there because the girls at my church are amazingly awesome. Do you know what I mean? They're going to just look silly. So everyone should really see the message this day that all this divide, all this hate over our country is a lie. The people need to get, just like you say all the time, Ron, the people need to get a backbone. Everyone needs to put down the Netflix, put down the Crave TV and all these things. Even our smartphones, we got to put them down. We got to hit our streets. We got to tell
a message.
Time to stand up because we possibly won't have tomorrow. We've seen it happen in other nations. Yeah. And when we see over the last several decades, when we see conflict in Africa, they tell us that the people are fighting with each other. But what it is, it's people standing up for their rights, grouping the same way as we are here, standing up for their rights, flying their flags, and then they have funded counter protesters and funded militants going to their countries and killing innocent people when all they want is food and shelter. we are seeing the very beginnings of this in Canada, and 20 years from now does not look good.
I got to interrupt you for a second.
Just let me say this for a second. I have a friend who was in the UN detail when he was a young man. They came here. He was originally a Jew. Then he moved and became a Christian. And his experience with the UN was rather frightening. And he gave a talk a few years back and explained to the Canadian people in that talk is that, the news you get is not real news. What goes on overseas, you never hear the real story. And when they finally come here, the people in the other countries are not going to hear the real story of what's going on here either.
That's right.
And
that's what Kevin J. Johnson can contest to, because he actually went to Burma with this Burmese conflict, and he actually found the United Nations blankets and wrappers, granola bar wrappers, all these things in the Islamic militant tents, right? So we have rogue militant groups, or what do they call rogue guerrilla groups that are being funded with our tax dollars. People need to be very, very angry because they are taking our money and they are killing people with it.
Karen, I need to interrupt you.
I'm actually
okay. I need a couple minutes because I want to explain to everyone. Of course, this event's going to be great. It's all about Canadians, but we've got hundreds of thousands of people who really don't know that this event will be taking place. So, it is your job. If you do sponsor this event, if you do believe in what we're doing, you need to share the word, flood the internet, let everyone know what's going on in Calgary on the 13th and 14th. We're doing this for you. This is a 24/7 for us. We use every single dollars we have. We're fully committed, and we do it for you, and we do it for Canada. And we need, this is about unity. So all together, we need to work and get this thing done. And also when it comes to donation, if people can donate, if you go on the page, the time is now on Hope for More on Facebook. I mean, we can use everything that we have, that we can get. Like we need to accomplish this project, for you people, and we will, we will have a success in Calgary, and we will grow from there. It's all about building a power for us and unite everyone.
Yeah.
Also, I would like to hear Sandra. How can we help Sandra? Because Sandra is an activist, and we all know that an activist's life is there's no paycheck to this. You just rely on people to help you out. How do we help the truth to be spread out there? So how do we get to you, Sandra?
Well, people can do so many things. Number one, they can share my videos. This is the least they can do. Sharing your videos, it doesn't require nothing. It's just a click. And they can sponsor the campaign, my upcoming campaign, international campaign to designate Quran as a hate literature. My main focusing in upcoming activity, it's the Quran itself, to expose the root of the problem, which is the Quran. And hopefully my final goal to take it to the Human Rights Court to file against it to be designated as a hate literature. And they can sponsor it soon. I'm going to be heading to mosques and challenge imams and Muslims to prove me wrong that the Quran is not a hate literature. Basically, this is what I am standing against, is the book itself. That's the source of all evil. And they can help by, if they want to donate, whatever they can donate, they can go to through my website, and this is the only source for now for donation. There's no other sources. It's www.voiceofsandrasolomon.com. Again, if someone wants to sponsor the campaign, even if they don't want to pay money, they want to just take me to their city and pay for the transportation and all that stuff, I'm willing to come. They don't have to pay me in person. You know what I mean? So if they cannot afford, I'm very flexible with people. We need to go on together.
Amazing.
With the least we can do. You know what I mean? It's not about money. It's not about fame. It's about Canada. It's about, we cannot, sometimes I'm on budget, I can do what I can do within my limit, within my reach. Hopefully one day, even if I couldn't find a lawyer, I'll try to find a people who's perfect in reading and filling documents, like a legal document. I'll file it myself if it takes me, but I'm not going to stop. I'm determined against Quran. And
Sandra, there's gonna be a lawyer at our event as well too, and I can't recall his name at the moment, but Art has a lawyer coming too for constitutional rights. So
good.
Yeah, so, maybe this is it.
You got a word of advice for our Christian brothers and sisters here in Canada, Sandra? What would be your word of advice? What should they do?
I would say, first of all, it's not a matter of love. It's not about love or hate. It's a matter of a national security here. It's forget about you know what I mean. As a Christians, I follow Jesus and I'm following 100% of the teaching of Christianity and all that. But Jesus said, love your enemy, but he never said bow for your enemy. And my call as an ex-Muslim, my call for Christians, preach the word of God. Don't be ashamed of the name of Jesus. And preach the truth. And church, I pray for church revival. We need a church revival. We need the church leaders to stand up for the truth the way it should be. Jesus said, be the light and be the salt. And this is number one mission for us as a Christian, to spread the truth and to be the light in the midst of this madness, darkness. And many Muslims are coming to Christ and coming to know the truth. We don't want to be a hypocrites. We need to show the truth no matter. If you really love Muslims, you need to tell them the truth. If you really love Canada, you need to speak the truth with no fear. And I call over the Christians, rebuke the spirit of fear. Don't be afraid of anything. Trash the political correctness. Speak the way you should speak as a Christian. We are ambassadors of Jesus Christ, and this is the number one thing. And we need to be united regardless of our denominations. It's not about that. It's about being united in the body of Jesus Christ. And one word to say, Jesus say, and you shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And that's the only thing will set Canada free. It's the truth. And especially for Muslims, many Muslims, they're brainwashed with it since they are babies.
Yes.
The imams, that's why I always target imams, the scholars. These are the snakes that taking advantage of many Muslims and brainwashing them and trying to take control. And basically we need also get involved as a Christians. It's not against the Bible to be involved culturally, politically, in every way. You need to be involved. Like, don't say, okay, but Jesus said this. No, it's about being involved. Jesus said, go to the world. He did not say stay home or stay behind walls in your church on Sundays and just go home and do nothing about it. No.
Well, and may I say one more thing too? When I saw in the UCY chat thread there earlier, someone wrote, the Bible says that he calls all his children, and then they put why? Because he's a pedophile. It's like, no, it's opposite. It's the children, our children's future, and for us and our love for our children. That is what brings us all together. Is because
that's
this
it
is
right there. That's it.
About the future of our children. And the same goes with some of these Muslim women and children. Is that they are being hurt, abused, and indoctrinated. So what we have to do, especially as Canadians, when we are leaders in humanitarianism and women and children's rights, is that we need to save these children.
Yes.
They're growing up.
Whoa! We're out of time. We got about a half a minute. I just want to thank you guys, Sandra and Carl and
I love
Aaron.
you guys.
Thank you.
You guys got some good message out there today.
Yeah.
Go to the Time Is Now website or Facebook to see about getting tickets. 2 hours went really fast today.
Yeah.
Which means things were positive.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Ron.
I just want to say
Love
that
you.
Behind the Woodshed with Hal is on at 3:00, and Hal has been at this for an awful long time. And Hal's a pretty good guy. He must be a Christian, because if you don't tune in, he's going to take you up behind the woodshed and whoop your butt. No.
Question everything.
This is what we
Intelligent
do.
radio for intelligent people.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
I love you guys.
God
Love
bless
Canada.
God bless you.
Unite, Canada. Unite.
United will never be defeated.
Amen to that, sister.
Amen, Sandra. See you soon.
God bless.
many guys.